right, welcome everybody to the April Torus community meeting. I'm Amanda Buddymeyer. If we haven't met, I'm the technical product manager for Torus. So these are monthly meetings that we have to talk about the Torus roadmap, upcoming releases, and topics related to that. And it's really intended to, I think that in today's meeting, it's going to be an awful lot of me talking at you because I'm doing a product demo, but I do want to generally encourage people that this meeting is intended to be kind of a two-way communication. And during my demo or during my presentation, if you have questions, you can just ask your questions. If you put something in the chat, I will get to it eventually, but I don't necessarily see right away if someone puts something in the chat. So please pipe up if you have a question related to something that I'm showing on the screen right now and you'd like me to answer before I move on too much. All right, before we get any further, then I like to start off by looking at our working product vision for Torus, which is transforming higher education through the science of learning. So let's always keep in mind as we're thinking about our roadmap and what we're building into Torus, that this is kind of what we're trying to accomplish here. So as far as the agenda, this is a pretty slide light presentation today. I'm mostly just going to kind of talk through these things. I want to touch really quickly on the roadmap snapshot. There will always be a new roadmap snapshot for every Torus community meeting. So if you, I'm going to show you in a minute where that is on the Torus website. And if you go there, you can look at the April one. It's posted now. So we'll kind of look at that and what's on the Torus website pretty briefly. The main meat of this presentation is going to be me doing a demo of version 27. So if we have time after that, then I will get into looking a bit at Torus version 28. Which is the version that we are. So Torus version 27 isn't out yet. It's scheduled to be released on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, April 9th. So the developers are already working on version 28, which is the next version that will be released in July. So even though we're going to kind of briefly look at the roadmap before I do the demo, I'm not really going to get into what's in the roadmap. And then we can circle back to that and talk a little bit more about version 28 if there's time after the demo. And then some final thoughts, and then we'll be done. So I'll start off with the Torus website and the roadmap snapshot. So here I am. I'm on the Torus website here, or the Torus part of the OLI website, I should say. And I do want to be clear that there are separate websites for the Simon Initiative and the Open Learning Initiative, OLI. So just don't get confused there. Like if you're going to the Simon Initiative website and you're like, none of these things Amanda explained are here, then it's all on the OLI website, which is oli.cmu.edu. And here I've gone to the section specifically for Torus. And the page I'm on right now is the Torus project page. So there's two different places on the website where you will find the Torus roadmap. And this is one. So I'm just going to scroll down. And here we have the Torus snapshot as of April 5th. Just going to click. And again, I'm not really going to get in here yet. I'll talk a little bit more about it. But I just wanted to show you that that's here. And then the other place is under Torus community. Yep. So if I scroll down, first of all, this is where you register for this meeting. You can always come here. I mean, I put this link in the Torus community meeting emails, but you can always just come here and register. And we also have a link here under important links that is going to be the latest snapshot. So again, that goes to our April product roadmap snapshot. And the other thing that I've done is, so we have a table here that talks about all of the upcoming Torus community meetings. We also, if you scroll down, so these have been going on almost as long as Torus has been around. except for previous years. I'm sorry, did someone say something? Previous years, these were run by Erin. So these are all recordings of the meetings that were run by Erin. If you look under the 2024 schedule, these are the ones that I'm running. We have a link here for the recording of last month's meeting. And that recording for today's meeting, the meeting we're in right now. I'm sorry. Yep.
Oh, wait, is this Jen or is this Diane? Okay. Did I did, oh.
So I think that Doris may have been in a conversation, so I just muted her. I'm sorry if you were talking to me and I was confused about that. But I'm just going to continue on and let me know if I'm missing something. All right, so this is where the recording for today's meeting is going to be, or for the April meeting. And then you can look on the date here. These all will link to the Torus Roadmap snapshot that for that month. So from last month, this is a little bit different. If you were in last month's meeting, you guys had given me some feedback on what you wanted to see, so I expanded what we had looked at. And this has a little bit more information about what status each thing is in, what interface, and that sort of thing. There's kind of a slide or a page here for each item. I'm not going to go over that in detail. But then under April is the one that is just out, the current one. Of course, we're always starting with that product vision that I mentioned. I do, similar to what you saw before, have this kind of overview of it. This is always going to be a moving 4-window view of the roadmap. So in the previous months, then we had version 27, but since that's imminently going to be released, I've now removed that and I've added version 31, which is our first quarter release for 2025. I also added this page that is changes since the last roadmap snapshot, just so that you have a sense as this, we go month to month, what you're looking at that's different. In this case, as I mentioned, I removed version 27 and I added version 31. I also put a blurb here that so all of the release documentation, we're going to have a blog post, we're going to have release notes, and it mentions a video demo here. The video demo is from this meeting, that video. So all of this is going to be posted on the website, and I have this at the end of the document where it's going to go here on page 14, but because the release isn't happening till Tuesday, then none of this is available yet. And then the other thing that can update is that you'll see that all of these have statuses, and some of these have changed from last month. So especially as you get later on here, you're going to see things that just haven't been started yet. And then you'll see things that move from not started into the research phase. You'll see things that move from research into design, from design into implementation. And also, as we get closer, then there could be updates to some of these description blurbs as we have a more specific idea of what we're building. And we might also be more likely to have an actual nice screenshot or something for you to look at, as opposed to just like a text explanation. So I'm not going to I'll circle back to this if we have time, but I just kind of wanted to give you an overview of where that is in the website and what is in the document. Does anyone have any questions about this before I move on to the demo? Questions, comments? Okay. So next up is our demo. And again, I don't really have slides for that. I'm just going to kind of jump into it. I'm going to have my demo be driven by, where am I? Our release notes for Torus version 27. So these won't actually be posted until we do the release. So this is just locally on my computer. But once we do the release, then the release notes will be a document that you can look at. And whereas the blog post is going to be kind of more high level and just kind of telling you in general what's going on with the release and what the focus is, this is our most detailed document that tells you everything about the release. I don't know if folks have gone into release notes for previous releases, but this actually lists out, we have 75 improvements or tickets that are included in this release. Every one of them is listed here, and you get some more information about it. These are sorted first by the interface, then by the category, and then by the issue key. So our interfaces are, and they go alphabetical. So it's admin, author, instructor. I have a category for multiple. There's a couple of issues in there that that impact more than one interface. Then we'll have one that I'll talk about that is just like for technical issues that don't actually impact the interface. So that's basically no interface. I put N/A, and then finally the student interface. And the other thing I wanted to point out here is we talked last time about the Torus triage board. That is our single source of truth for feature requests and bug reports for Torus. So a lot of these, you'll see this MER or MER ticket number. That's the board that the developers actually work on, and it is not open to the public. It's only folks who are working in development on Torus, and it will tend to have a lot more technical information. So all of the tickets will have a MER number, but many of them, you'll notice, also have a number from the Torus triage board, which is public facing and is really meant for you all as members of the community to put in tickets and then be able to track them. And also you can, because everything's public, you can also track other tickets, even if you didn't put it in, if it's something of interest. So what I did here is I made each of these triage ones a link so that if you click on it, it will actually pull up the issue in JIRA that again, anyone can see. This is open to the public. All of these right now have a status of in progress because on the triage board, then they stay in progress until we actually do the release. So next week, when we have release notes publicly posted, if you follow any of these links, you're going to see all of these things for version 27 will have changed to a released status because they're part of the release. But you can see more information about like what exactly went into that, where there's screenshots, more details about the issue if you're interested. All right, so jumping into my demo, I just want to give you a quick overview. Like I said, 75 improvements. 43 of those are new features. 24 of those are bug fixes. I'm really not going to get into bug fixes in the demo today, both because I'm going to be demoing version 27. So all there is to demo is, hey, look, this works as expected. But also some of the bugs you really have to turn clockwise 3 times and then do a dance to get it to happen. And that's not very conductive to my time frame. So I'm mostly going to ignore those. And then we also have 8 tickets, which essentially kind of are new features, but they're things that are more optimizations or improvements in the background. So they're not really something I can demo for you. I'm calling those technical / non-interface improvements. So I'm going to jump right into it. For the admin stuff, really probably the main thing that I want to demo is this one, separating out admin functionality. Let's see if I'm going to have to relog in here. Oh, I do. Okay, if I go into the admin section here, so I'm logged in as an admin. This is our staging environment, of course, because version 27 isn't live yet. So through version 26, through the current version of Torus that is in production, then if you were an admin for Torus, then you had every admin capability. So everything that you see here, every admin had. And that was kind of fine when Torus was smaller, but we've scaled beyond a point where that's practical, because the reality is that many of the people who are admins don't need all of the admin capabilities. And there are things that they can do that can create problems, even by accident. And as someone who early in my career definitely messed with production environments at least once by accident by having too many permissions, I certainly, agree with the fact that we're going to limit this so that we have three types of admins, and they are hierarchical. So, and they go by these three menus. So an account admin only has access to these account related features. A content admin has access to the account and content, so both of these. And then the system admin is everything. So I'm logged in as a system admin now. I can see everything. I would not want to be logged in as a system admin on production because I mostly don't need to do these things. And you really can, like, you can mess with the entire application's integration with APIs. You can turn features on and off across the entire application. So we really want to make sure that very few people are system admins and are using this system admin capability. So that's the main admin thing that I'm going to demo. You'll notice throughout this, we actually have a bunch of these sorting features in here. And I think what happened here is that we had a couple that came in, and then some of our QA testers really got into, like, let's go look everywhere we have sorting and sort every which way and really make sure. And they found some weird places where things weren't being sorted well. So we have these. I'm not mostly going to get into these because some of them you have to have certain types of data that I don't think I'm prepared to do for all of the different sorting. But the main point here is just making sure that everything sorts as expected. All right. Getting into some of our author issues here, our author improvements. Probably the single biggest category, not probably, definitely the single biggest category in version 27 of improvements are authoring UX improvements. So you'll see it, I think that there's 15 of them, 15 out of, now I don't remember, 40 something feature improvements. So, starting off for version 27, I was fairly new. Thank you, Erin. I was fairly new, and also our UX team, Jess and Preeti, who we introduced last month, they only started in January, but we really wanted to make an impact here. So we did a whole assessment. I actually started this even before Jess and Preeti joined, of looking at, like, where are some basic places that we can make improvements to the authoring experience just based on design principles, because we really didn't have time to do kind of the research that we certainly will be doing moving forward. We're going to be revisiting this and doing deeper improvements. But there was a lot of places, if you have experience with the Torus authoring interface, you probably know that there's a lot of opportunities for just basic improvements there following design principles. So let me walk you through some of those things. I'm going to go back out to projects, and I think that I'm going to look at like a statistics here. Which one did I look at before? So I have fewer surprises as I click through. I think this is the one I looked at when I was practicing this demo. Come on, are you not going to load? There we go. So actually, one thing I want to point out before I even get into UX improvements, just because I'm on this page, is, where can I thought I had licensing in here. Did I miss it? If anyone who's familiar with the licensing update either knows why I'm not finding licensing or sees it and is like, Amanda, it's right there, tell me. I might need to go into a different project. Here, let me create a new one. So that I'm looking at it as fresh as I can. Trials of a live demo. Hey, Darren, can I ask you, like, I literally practiced this demo this morning on multiple projects. And I'm pretty sure right here in project attributes is where the licensing feature was. Am I missing something?
What server are you on?
I'm on Heliotron,
Uh,
which is also where I did my practice this morning. All right, I probably don't want to.
so I think somebody pulled the plug on you. Heliotron is running 26.5.
Oh my God. I'm doing my demo of, okay. I think that means that I'm not going to be able to do my demo. Now I'm thinking, I'm trying to figure out what I can do for this. I could probably demo some of this stuff on Tokamak, but nothing in like the student interface. All right, I'm gonna see if I can go. So Tokamak is actually running newer code. So this might end up being a really bad idea. This isn't version 27, but apparently something happened in the back end where the environment where I practiced this morning that was running version 27 is not running it anymore. So I'm gonna sign in here and hopefully that will go well. All right, let's see if I go into my statistics. It really honestly shouldn't matter. Let me try another one. Demo for meeting. There we go. So the feature that I wanted to show you is this license feature. So essentially what you can do at the project level here is choose any Creative Commons license. The Creative Commons website has a really great description for all of these, of what exactly all of these different license types mean. And then we also have a custom feature where you can just type in whatever text, or you can put a link if you have a different type of license that's not Creative Commons. And this will appear in the footer on every page. So I think that that's a big improvement. This is actually something we had in the legacy system, but we didn't have parity, and we had kind of workarounds to get license information. You should be aware that by default, there's not going to be, this is not going to be in use. There's not like a default license. So you are going to need to go in if you want to use this feature and kind of pick a license. Okay, and then, I was going to get into some of the authoring. I don't think that what we're going to look at for authoring right now, right at the beginning of version 28, should be particularly different from version 27, I hope. So getting into some of these differences. So one thing that we did here, I think that the way, especially if you had to have access to adaptive pages, the way that this create a page menu looked or looks now in production, to me is a bit confusing, because what it says is practice pages, graded assessment, adaptive page. And that's not really, first of all, adaptive pages can have practice and graded, but they can be either practice or graded. So that was misleading about what the capabilities were. And it's also not consistent with the way, when we're talking about pages in Torus, we pretty much always talk about basic versus adaptive pages, and there was nothing in there that said basic pages. So this is just a little grid to make it kind of more clear to you what type of page you're creating. And then of course down here you can create a unit, which you could before as well. Something else that that we've added is the, oh yes, Erin.
Yeah, I'm just curious because the adaptive pages, you previously had to go into the adaptive page environment, and then you got to pick whether it was like simple adaptive or advanced adaptive. And I'm wondering, like, how's that change? Do both of those buttons go to the exact same place, or they actually go to different places? Or populate with different things, I guess.
I think they create different pages. but let's see. I am not the best at adaptive pages. So you might, oh yeah, so you still get basic authoring versus advanced authoring here. Is that the choice that you were talking about?
Yeah, and so I don't understand if you go back to the grid
Mhm.
and select the other option. How is that different?
So
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry to made you work through that. It looks like it's doing the same thing. Okay. And maybe it's set up for later to do different things, but
So you should be able to use either the basic author or advanced author, like the simple author or advanced author for either, right? Like you can have a practice page that does either. So shouldn't
yeah,
you?
I guess what I'm confused about is there isn't a difference between an adaptive graded versus an adaptive formative page or practice page. They both go to the same place.
Yeah, that's correct. It
Okay.
just the previous interface I think was confusing because there was an option to create a basic practice page, a basic graded page, and then an adaptive page. And I think folks were confused that adaptive pages couldn't be graded, right? Because that was not a clear option from this original interface. But now this is more explicit that for each of the two page types, basic and adaptive, you can either create practice or graded versions of them.
Okay.
Something else we have here is, so we have these links between this, this curriculum and the all pages view. And it was always possible to go between these two pages. If you go to create, you can go to create, and curriculum or all pages. But I think a lot of people switch back and forth between these two pages a lot, and that's kind of cumbersome. So this way you just have this direct link between the two. And additionally, when you're looking at this view of all pages, and I think I would have to go back to an existing project to actually show this. Let's see if I can find my statistics. Hopefully any of these will be fine. Here, this one's from 3 months ago. Hopefully when I go to my all pages view. So you have this column that will show you which of these pages, this is showing every page in the project, and you can see which of them are in the curriculum as well. So that's easy to see. If I actually go into a page, we have several improvements here. One is around this learning objective. So we changed the tooltip text, the pre-populated text here that shows you what to do. I think there had been some confusion around the fact that you can either type a new objective, or you can select one and kind of search what's already there. And I think that also was particularly confusing the way that the phrasing had been before on a brand new project where there weren't any. It implied that you could select something. So we changed this so that it's a little bit more clear that you can either select or create something. And then if you can only create, that it's just create learning objectives. We've also added a lot of places where there are tooltips that help you to understand what different features do. So for instance, if you roll over this sidebar, it'll tell you can open your sidebar. If you go, well, anyway, like you can roll over this little plus sign to show insert content. Also, if we go into if I actually go to insert content here, and I get this little toolbar, we have, a lot of tooltips here. We also simplified this. This had some hierarchical levels, and we made this just have one level. So this authoring toolbar is a bit simpler now. And another feature that we added is the undo and redo. So you can see right now the redo is grayed out and the undo is not. If I click undo, I actually don't know what it's changing. So let me type something here. here is a thing, here is another thing. If I hit undo now, I can undo the last thing I did. You'll see that redo repopulated, so I can keep hitting that to redo things that I undid. I think that that's just a nice usability feature. You know, if you accidentally type something or you accidentally remove something. Something else that we added is, so this little line and plus icon indicates that this is a place where you can insert new content. And we made this, so they do appear throughout the page. You know, they'll hover as you hit places where you can add content. But for this bottom one at the bottom of the page, this one doesn't go away. And I think that this is particularly a nice feature for a brand new page where there's no content, because you wouldn't know that you have to hover over something to insert content. It just looks like a blank page. So having this that's persisting here and that doesn't go away is a nice way for you to say, oh, this is something that I can do. And then you roll over it and it says insert content, and you know you can click that. I think that's, you know, a good quick overview of some of the usability changes. So we just kind of audited to see what are some quick wins we can make in version 27 here. Let me go back and look through my release notes. In the instructor interface, looks like got a lot of bug fixes. This one I think is a nice feature that we added for primarily for instructors. I think I probably could just show you in the admin interface, but it's something that is primarily directed at instructors who do scheduling. So let me find a course section. I'm not going to pick one that says Raphael course don't change. Here, let's do this one. I just want to get to this this scheduling feature. So this course section I picked does not have suggested ranges for dates, but you know, a number of projects do. And prior to this release, then we only had this reset timelines button, which meant if you had changed the dates from the suggested date and then you hit reset, the dates here would go back to the suggested dates. But if you added in a date and then you said, oh, that was a mistake, I didn't mean to add a date, there was actually no way to remove that. Once there's a date, you can change it, but you can't have no date whatsoever. So we added this feature here where you can clear timelines to just say, get rid of the date, I want to start from scratch. All right, we've got some more of these sorting features. And as I mentioned, we have a couple of different things that fit into multiple, you know, impact multiple interfaces, including, I mentioned that license feature. And then we get into a bunch of these background things that again, I can't really demo, they don't have an interface element. We've got several features for our advanced pages that I'm not going to get into because I'm not really great with advanced pages, but there's one thing, this might be on the multiple. All right, I'm going to keep scrolling. And then, you know, we're into most of the student things. I'm actually going to avoid demoing, I think, the student things, because in version 28, the student interface is very different. But I probably can discuss some of these things. There's a couple of these things I should pull out to mention. Because we're having such a huge, you know, overhaul of our student interface in version 28, we avoided making any big changes to the student interface for version 27. But what we've got a lot of here are things where, you know, places that we hear from our user community that, you know, something is maybe unclear, a little confusing, or maybe if, you know, this table header gets really long or this equation gets really long, then things don't look the way they're supposed to look. So we have a lot of things here where we're responding to the user community about some easy wins in terms of making this a better user experience. A couple of things that I want to call out. for our friends who use the NASA Infiniscope portal. I know it had been a big deal that you had a whole, you know, especially because those are K-12 students, it was really difficult for them to get from, there was a bunch of clicks and things they had to do to transition from the NASA Infiniscope portal into Torus. So we had one of our UX designers, Jess, I think it was the one who looked at this and actually figured out how to make this a smoother experience. And the other thing I wanted to call out because it was cool, oh, it was this one under students. So this also probably is pretty limited in terms of the number of users that this impacts, but I wanted to call out this one because it's highlighting how we integrate with this Torus VR app so that we actually have students who are using like VR goggles and doing explorations and are able to transition into do content and explorations in Torus as well. And we would really love in the long term to make all of these really cool advanced pages capabilities we have a lot more accessible and kind of lower the barrier to entry so that we have a lot more users using them. Because I would love if a lot more classes were doing like these VR experiences and the types of explorations that that get done in the advanced pages. I think that probably is everything I'm going to demo. Does anyone have any questions or want to see anything, you know, before I move on from the demo? All right. So let me do a time check here. It's 1:09, so we definitely still have time. So I'm going to plan on going back to our roadmap, and we can talk a little bit about what's in here. I was primarily going to focus on version 28. That's what we just started working on. Well, it's inaccurate to say we just started working on it. We just started working, like the full team working on version 28 because we're done with work with version 27. But for this top part, our next generation student interface, work for that has actually been being done since long before I started working here in October. So I think at least a year. And that is going to be a huge you know, UX improvement that has had a lot of research, a lot of time, a lot of resources to making a better user experience for our students. And we do hope over time, I mean, we're doing this for the student interface first, but we also want over time to iteratively make, you know, a better user experience for our instructors and authors as well. So that is by far the biggest item in version 28. We also have social annotation. This is something that's built on top of a discussion feature, but it actually allows students to select page elements and kind of refer to them so that they're dynamically including the page in their discussion. This is both a feature that in our research students really like. They like when they're having class discussions to actually be able to attach their comment and say, oh, I'm talking about this. Like, can I have a question about this? Or I think, you know, this is what I think about this. So that's a powerful feature for them. And it also, I think, from the perspective of instructors and authors, can really create like a heat map of seeing what are the pages and the page elements that students are talking about most, which could be a good thing because this is really interesting and they're really into it, or it could be an indication, depending on what the comments are, that this is something that needs work and everyone's confused about it. So I think this is a really powerful feature. We also have improvements to our A/B testing capabilities. This was researched and designed by one of our new UX designers, Jess Fortunato. And so this is a feature both for if you're using Torus for research, as in like educational research that you're going to be publishing on, or also if you're just doing research, you might want be maybe an instructor who wants to have a couple variations of a question or an exercise to see which one works better for your students. This is allowing you know, content variations so that you can run experiments to see you know, if you kind of randomize variations, how do different variations work? So I think that this is a capability that already existed in Torus. It exists in Torus right now in production, but if anyone has used it, it is really challenging from a user experience perspective. So our goal is to make this better, and so we're making some improvements here, but even beyond you know, what we could fit into version 28, we have plans to make this an even better experience moving forward. And then finally, last but not least, we have improvements to the instructor reporting and visualizations. This has been researched and designed by our other UX designer, Preeti Sharma. And this is another feature that a lot of people want, a lot of people talk about wanting to have better access to data and be able to, you know, have instructors really be able to respond and see what's going on in the class from a reporting and visualization standpoint. What we're doing in version 28, again, is just the start of a longer plan to have this become iteratively better over a number of releases. But we're hoping to have a significant improvement in that experience in version 28. I can stay up here, or I can scroll down to, you know, I think that what it says here is probably pretty similar to what I just said. Does anyone have any questions about this or want to talk about this? At this point, this is more or less what I was going to present, and we have about 15 minutes left in the meeting. So whatever you guys want to talk about, I'm open to it. All right.
Quick, maybe a quick question for you, Amanda, and it's something that just bubbled up for me. I just came out of a meeting where someone was asking about a feature that I'm reasonably sure is somewhere on our roadmap, but I couldn't remember where, and I don't remember how I can figure out if it's on the roadmap or where I would find it. It might be valuable for this crowd to see how they go about figuring that out, maybe.
So I think I'm probably not going to answer that question the way that you want. My first answer to that is, if it's within the next few releases, it should be on this document.
Mm-hmm.
We do have things in Jira that are roadmapped out further than that, but to be completely honest, even going out for releases, like there's a lot that can happen between now and then. I mean, these are features that haven't been researched yet. There's things that could come up when we're doing research on them that make it either easier or harder to do them. There's things that could change on the ground in terms of what our user population wants. I mean, we've had times when something that wasn't on our radar all of a sudden has to become really important. So there are ways that you could see. I could talk about what we tentatively have roadmapped for version 32 or 33 or 34, but I generally would probably encourage people that if it's that far out, it's very tentative. Like, I'm not sure at this point it makes a huge difference for something to be roadmapped into version 34 versus 35.
Yeah, so sorry, I guess I wasn't as clear in what I'm asking. Which is a little different from asking where is it on the roadmap, you know, but rather we've had lots of conversations about wanting to be able to give question at a time with immediate feedback in high stakes assessments. I know those conversations have happened. I think that's captured somewhere, but I don't know how to figure out if it's captured even before I get to the place of asking when is that slotted in. And so aside from ask Amanda, what is a good way for me to figure out if that's captured somewhere?
So that
I can advocate for it.
That particular one I need to have a meeting with you about, but it is definitely captured. But yeah, I think I get what your question is. I would say that, you know, if you want, you can to try to look on your own. You can go onto the triage board, which again, everyone has access to, and you can search there. You might be able to find it. Sometimes that's a little tricky though, because sometimes something might not be phrased the way that you expect, or sometimes you phrase it in a certain way and like 30 tickets come up. So I would say the best way to do that for, for kind of smaller issues like that maybe don't have a huge, big epic that we have in Jira, is to do that search. But I think if that doesn't work or the results are confusing, Ask Amanda might end up being the best way to do it, because sometimes it can be challenging to find things. Yes, Mark.
So maybe just to follow up on or build on what Norm's asking, since he asked about a thing that's of course of interest to me and a lot of instructors. If something's already there, should we add to it, like just heard more, that this is really desired, or if it's there once, is that sort of sufficient and we're just cluttering it up by, re-emphasizing? I hope my question's making sense.
It does make sense. And I absolutely think, so I actually want to make one more comment to Norman, which is you in particular, because you have a Jira login, you could look at the roadmap in Jira on the Jira Roadmap project, and you would see that specific question you just asked on the Jira Roadmap. And I can walk through that with you if you're not sure how to do it, but that's not something. So if you, Norman Beer, had a question about that one question at a time feature, then you could go in and find it. But the way that you would look at that is not available to anyone without a Jira login.
In fact, I was hoping to channel my alter ego, Lee Beer. Lee does not have a Jira login and is much less ignorant in how Lee might do feature searches.
So I think that if Lee Beer doesn't have a Jira login and was not as successful as they hoped doing a search on the Jira triage board, Lee Beer's best option then would be to ask me about it. Okay. Getting back to your question, Mark, I absolutely think that, so the way that the triage board is set up is that once a ticket is made, you cannot edit it. And that is on purpose because anyone can access this board, and I don't want people just going in and messing with other people's tickets. But what anyone can do, you can't, so, and if you don't have a Jira login, you can't even edit your own ticket, because without a login, it has no way of knowing that you're the one who made this ticket. What you can do is add a comment, and anyone can add a comment to any ticket. And I would very much encourage you to do that, because it does add weight. If we see that one person has requested this issue, that doesn't mean it's not important, and it might be something that's considered when we do research. But if we see that one person after person after person is requesting this issue, then that does add weight to it. I would just make sure that in the comment, then you say who you are, because sometimes people just add a comment and they're used to systems where it automatically captures who they are. But if you don't log into Jira, the only way that I have to know who to follow up with is like, hey, this is Mark Blazer, and I'm adding this information in.
Thank you. Very helpful.
And I don't want to make I don't want this to be as bleak as I may have made it sound. I do think that it can be really useful to search for things on the triage board. I just have come across situations where, where people have struggled with that, and I want to encourage them to reach out to me. The other thing that makes this complicated is we're still in a process of migrating all of our tickets that had been in GitHub onto the triage board. So it's possible that you could do this will go away in the future once we finish this migration process, but it's possible you could search for it, and it's something that we've captured, but it's just not on that board yet. Sasha.
So let's say that I'm talking to Lee Beer. How should I tell them to contact Amanda? Is it just email, or is there a form somewhere for this in specific, or some other thing?
There is not a form, it's just email. I think I have this, yeah, right at the end. If you look on the very last page of the roadmap document, it says contact Amanda Buddymeyer at amandab@andrew.cmu.edu if you have questions. And that's what I would encourage people to do.
Thank you.
Anything else, folks? All right. Well, thanks for joining us. I'll be posting Oh, before we go, I have my final thoughts, which are from my presentation, which is just basically telling you what I'm going to be sending you after this meeting. There will be a follow-up email to everyone on the email list. If you didn't get the initial email, but you did register for this meeting, I will add you to the list. So if you're here, you will get the email. And that email will include a link to where the recording of this meeting is on the website, on the Torus community site. I'm going to hold off on sending the email until after we do the release, because I want to make sure I have a link to the blog post for version 27 and the release notes so that I can include those links as well. And I also do include in that email a link to the Torus triage board. I don't put that link on the main website because that's a great way to get caught by bots, but I will put it in the email for everyone so that you know exactly where to go. Sasha.
So you noted in your email that if you registered once, you don't have to register again. I've had trouble in the past where the only way to get into the Zoom was the registration link, so it would have me register every time. What's the way to be like, I'm already registered? Where do I go?
Oh, well, so one, the link, the meeting link is the same every time. I can understand why you might not have it, but if you don't, like, you can register again. I just want people to know that they don't have to. Like, once you're registered, you're registered. I'm not sure if Zoom has a way of saying, I'm registered, but give me the link, but you can always just register again. That's not gonna hurt anything.
Thank you.
All right, folks, thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks so much.